Yep.
So, VMAX, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing good.
There you are.
For retired life, it seems awful busy.
Would you quit? Would you quit bragging? Would you quit bragging?
For some reason, I feel busier. Like when I worked, I just went in. I worked all day. I came home, ate dinner, had a beverage, did some knives on the weekend. But yes,
Well, retired means tired all over again.
That's right. I feel like that's what's going on.
So I know we're not allowed to use the word anymore. Okay, so it's a bad word. Okay, I understand that, but I also have dad jokes. I'm a little sarcastic. So there was this guy that was a neighbor who was obnoxious. He was an older fellow, but he was obnoxious and mean, and he was just ugh. So anyway, I went to a wedding with my wife, and this man was there. He was a gray-haired guy, kind of looked like a white-haired Fonzie. Okay, there you can picture that. And he was from California, but he just never a happy guy. Anxious around the kids and this, that, and the other. Well, anyway, I walked up to him, and I'll call him Jack. Okay. And I said, we were at a wedding he was at, and I was like, Jack, I hear you're He goes, excuse me? I said, I hear you're He goes, what? I said, how are you enjoying your And he goes, what? And he goes, what are you calling me? I said, nothing. What are you talking about? You just called me I said, no. Didn't you just quit your job? Aren't you now? Oh. So... and then it was okay that I said it that way. But my wife was like, we walked away, and she was so angry at me for doing that. But anyway, revenge or all that's a dish served best cold at the right time in the right place. And I don't use that word anymore. It was a very commonplace. Maybe we can talk about that on the show. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
Lots of things are socially unacceptable now.
Yeah.
Lots of movies and stuff that we grew up with that have fallen out of fashion. When we watched the new Disney or the old Disney Aladdin movie, it has like a trigger warning at the front.
Really?
For inappropriate or not accurate language and stuff like that. So
well, don't get me started on Blazing Saddles.
3, 2, 1, 0.
You're listening to the Knives Templars.
I got a piece off of the wagon that Sam Houston used to take JFK to the moon.
Pinto sauce. I like that. Pinto sauce.
Pinto sauce. You're tuned in to the Knives Templars podcast. Featuring Jason Fry.
Yeah, I've been just been doing what we do.
Long time listener, first time caller. Eric T.R.E. Rivers.
Holy crap, I built something.
Mark Vasallo.
There would be a lot of places I would launch myself to.
Chip Carlisle. We've had a raccoon come through the screen door down in the family room.
I was a mean kid.
And Josh Ferrand. And now, broadcasting across planet Earth, it is the Knives Templars, coming to you live from PORKHouse Studios right here in Hartselle, Alabama, and scattered across the country. We are on demand, and it's time to sit back and enjoy another show on the KnivesTemplars.com.
Man, well, it's three of us tonight. We got Mark and Kyle and Chip here, and welcome to one of the two greatest podcasts out there. We are back for our 2-hour bi-monthly tour, and I'm Chip Carlisle, and I'm joined by the great Kyle Daly. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, guys.
Hey, and the great Mark Vasallo.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Yes, it's so good to have you here. As we were talking, as we were coming in there, it's amazing. Perspective, and you guys have good perspective because, one of you is a decade and one of you is a couple decades younger than me or around. So, and it's amazing how things change over time. And, even, technology changes. I'm in my sixth decade, so I've seen technology change. I remember watching Man Walk on the Moon. Yes, they really went to the moon. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. They went to the moon, and which was a phenomenal feat in itself, just for us to be able to see it, because they had to bring it back to some little island out in the middle of nowhere and beam it back up to where it got around so that they could take the signal and get it to our TVs here in America so we could watch Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. So, yeah, it's a whole story in itself. But it's amazing how things change and how things that were how language changes over time and things that are not appropriate, either whether it's something on TV, a scene, or the way we do things, it's considered insensitive. I'm not against changes and us getting better, but sometimes it's just hard for the old boy to keep up with what's right and what's wrong these days. So
Yeah.
you just do your best. You just do your best.
It was funny because as we were discussing things, you threw out, don't get you started on Blazing Saddles. So I'm part, I'm part of, I might have mentioned it before on the podcast. Me and my wife are in this Mardi Gras association down here in Mobile. And, it's really for a married couple association, very small, not like the big, party or drink all night kind of groups. And, so, one of the things is you do, the people who are members, they'll do it like a skit in the beginning, and for everybody else who attends, right, to make the opening enjoyment. And so this year, I can't quite discuss the theme because I'm not supposed to talk about what stays in Mardi Gras, whatever that whole thing is, right?
Because everybody listens to this show, but go right ahead.
That's right, millions.
Fight Club.
That's right. It's like Fight Club or Forging or Forge Club. But somebody was considering the Blazing Saddles theme, right? Because there's a funny little piece of that movie, right? That would be good for a skit. And so
is this the passing gas around the fire?
Yeah, it's the beans.
The horse out? Okay, the beans.
Yeah,
okay.
The beans. Yeah, and so. So I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen the whole movie. Like I've seen little portions of it. So me and Shannon said, hey, let's tee it up. And so we watched it, like about a month ago. And all of a sudden my son comes out of the room and he says, what the heck are you guys watching? Because, they throw out the N-word quite a bit, in that movie. And, although it has a good message at the end, it is definitely past socially acceptable in today's day and age.
I would agree with that. It's even as hardened as I am, and when I say hardened, I'm a pussycat. But my point is I hope that doesn't offend anybody. No, use of racial stereotypes as entertainment. Even mental retardation, not using the word retarded. I think that those are progressive, and progressive in a good way, that we learn to realize that stigmas do come with words. Even being a knife maker has its own stigmas, right? Everybody thinks you're a loser that throws money into a trash can.
Or you're stabbing people all the time.
Exactly. You're making weapons. You can't sell them. But I do agree with that. And I think that those things are important. I just have to be careful as I've gotten older because, things you may say innocent. And I have, some younger daughter-in-laws, and they'll correct me real quick. And, not that often, but they'll correct me real quick. Well, you really don't talk like or say that anymore. Not that I do it often. It's just, they have been educated in the liberal university, so they know how to act. But hey,
speaking of Blazing Saddles, though, Mel Brooks, when Spaceballs 2 is released in the next year and a half, he'll be 100 years old at the premiere.
I hope he makes it for sure. Yeah. That's wonderful. He is. Go ahead.
I had no idea he was that old when he did Spaceballs and stuff like that.
Yeah. He sounds the same,
Yogurt. I tell you, I think that if you look at him and his movies and things he's done over time, things that he may show now are certainly may be considered unacceptable, or Monty Python, certainly. The best comedy ever made for men was Monty Python, and some women, men and some women, because my wife certainly doesn't like it. Does anybody here's wife say, "Let's watch Monty Python tonight"?
She likes History of the World.
Very good, very good. But even like History of the World has some things in it.
It does.
So we just we just have to not be so keyed up, but we also have to be conscious of a message that's spread. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie, Mark.
History of the World Part 2?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's very good.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. If you like Mel Brooks, I mean, it's a classic.
Okay.
Most definitely. So I've got a litany of things to talk about tonight. I think that's the right word, a litany.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But and they're all personal because I'm selfish. But before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody knows, hey, go out to tr-maker.com. That's TR Maker. He's got some of the greatest tools that are provided for knife makers, and he ships from Istanbul, Turkey, where his engineering business is located. And when I've ordered like on a Wednesday from Istanbul, it arrives at my house on Saturday or even Sunday via DHL. And I said, I said, why do you spend so much money shipping? And he says, because customers are very important. So that's good business. So anyway, get in touch with TR Maker, see what they have to offer at tr-maker.com. There you go.
Yeah.
So I'll get off real quick. We'll talk about what we're doing. So, and that'll kind of get past the thing I'm interested in. I think I figured it out. I've had a couple knives here recently that are larger knives. And when I've heat treated them, I've made sure that my forge is up to temp. And I'm using a heat gun, and you're within 100 degrees, literally where you're supposed to be. If you're aiming the heat gun at the thing properly, and you're letting the face of the heat gun cool down in between shooting it, so there's a lot of variables in there. Hence, I'm getting a heat treat oven, but I do let it go through the soak times, and I'm using some 1095, some 1084, and I noticed that when I quench couple of knives, I've gotten a little round circle that goes all the way through that's softer than the rest. So that's ultimately, it's a soft spot. It didn't harden. And I looked that up today, and it said, well, it could be your quench oil. So I'm using Parks 50. I'm heating it up to 120. So it's not that. I don't believe it's that. And it could be that you don't let your blade cycle enough when you're getting ready to quench it. And so everything I do is in a 3-inch tube inside my forge. So I'm controlling the way that it's heating. I'm not letting the heat get right on it. I'm running 3 burners. So I'm distributing the heat even across, and I close up the back of the forge and let everything come through the front. And that way I've got a more controlled environment, and I'm soaking it I hit the 10-minute mark. Or what, the recipe mark every time on what I'm doing. I know there's some variations in temperature using a forge. And then I quench, and I've got an ammo can that I'm quenching in, and it's a standard, 8-inch high, 10-inch high ammo can. And I'm not sure the weapon caliber that is, but it's a standard one you see in most stores. And I've had a little trouble not necessarily getting the knives down in there, but, agitating them in that and kind of hitting sides. And, you're seeing the white steam bubbles. I guess you call that even in oil, but you're seeing the white bubbles kind of come off, and you're trying to move that along. And the only thing I can figure is I'm not agitating it enough, and it's not, and I'm allowing a gas pocket in there that's not allowing it to harden like the other things. So I'm going to go with C, which is I'm allowing a gas pocket to form that's giving me this nice little almost circular spot on a knife that goes all the way through. So I'm going to ask the judges. I'm asking you guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen one single spot. I've seen where you get some, I don't know, it looks like multiple spots on there, which, I found was, for me, it was a combination of not agitating enough and my steel. Somebody said my steel might have been a little bit too hot, but you're doing it different since you have that tube. I think you could much more control what you're doing, and pretty soon when you have an oven, it's not going to be a question. But yeah, I mean, that's could be that, or it could be. Did you forge this? I can't remember.
It was forged, and I also read that if you're not normalizing as you should, that can happen as well. And
yeah, so it couldn't be even. The carbon couldn't be even distributed.
Yeah, so I am normalizing as I was instructed by Eric Rivers and found some recipes. Again, forge temperatures could be an issue with that, but I am normalizing, letting it cool down below the 700 or 400 degrees. It gets down, when I let it normalize, it gets down to between 300 and 400 degrees before I go back and put it in the heat again. So it might be that. I think what I'm going to do is I don't want to go out and spend $300 on a welded tube quenching tank. They're nice, but that's a lot of money. I think I'm going to buy one of those tall ammo cans, which are great because they're sealed on the top and everything.
Yeah,
and get one of those and make a base frame for it out of wood that's got some angle iron that it sets in there and holds it in place so it doesn't tip over easily. And add another gallon of Parks 50 in there and start doing it that way and see if it makes a difference, because that's the only thing I can figure out is just I'm not able to agitate it at the level maybe it needs to break those gas bubbles that are forming away from the steel.
Yeah, the tall ones hold a lot more gallons than you would think. I use, I sent you the link, the 40 millimeter ammo can. It's the 40 millimeter grenades. Ammocanman.com is where I got mine. But it is 17 and a half inches deep, 6 inches wide, and 10 inches tall. I think it holds three something gallons. And it has a lever lock on both sides, so the whole top comes completely off, which is really nice for doing the quenching.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm looking at it here, and also, yeah, it's a much larger can, isn't it?
Did you send it?
I sent it just a chip. I didn't put it in the.
Oh well, send it, because I was going to show you the picture. I had the same exact can I think Chip has right now, and I was planning to go get something bigger because for two reasons. One is like he brought up. Sometimes you don't have the room to agitate because I know I'm hitting the bottom a lot, unintentionally. And then two, it's just not as much. Or hitting the sides, yeah. And well, so no, I know, I try not to go side to side as much as front to back in that cutting motion, because I read somewhere if you ever move the knife side to side, you could start getting a warp. And so I just have never done that.
Yeah, you're putting a torque on there.
And but then also I just feel like not having enough fluid in there, it heats up. So I quenched 4 knives today, and it got pretty hot. I started at Mobile temperature, which was 90 something and degrees, but intentionally did not heat my oil because I knew the last knife I quenched it would be warmer. So.
Yeah. I really like that 40 millimeter one. I don't really use high carbon steel at all, so I don't really know a whole lot, but I have done a handful of the Alabama Damascus and stuff like that. Made some knives out of that, and done some quenching and stuff for other people out of the heat treat oven.
Very good. Yeah, I'm looking at I like the one you sent, but I'm also just kind of going through here looking at the 50 cal cans. Its prices are excellent. The 50 caliber.
The prices are good. Because you go to an Army Navy store, and sometimes they will want to charge, I love the stuff in the Army Navy store stuff, but they'll charge that much for just the small one if you go to the wrong spot.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, so
and I don't like, I wouldn't recommend. I'm sorry, Chip. Go ahead.
No, you're perfect. You go right ahead.
I was looking a lot into quenching tanks, and I saw a lot of folks have like these narrow cylindrical ones. But the more I read, that's definitely not the good way to go, because the fluid's heating up at different temperatures, in the cylinder, and it doesn't mix as well. Like something that has, is wider, kind of like that ammo can will have a more evenly distributed temperature once the oil starts heating up. So I've heard that's better than the more narrow cylindrical ones.
Yeah.
Except for a sword, maybe. If you.
I bought one of the 120 millimeter ammo cans, and it's like, I don't know, 3 feet tall or something like that.
Ooh.
And
Yeah,
when I calculated the oil needed for that, I was like, let's get something a little smaller.
Yeah, that's a lot of oil.
Yeah, so here's a PA 124 60 millimeter. It's 19 inches high by 12 inches wide, and 6.5 inches wide, 12 inches long, and 19 inches high. I've got a couple of extra gallons of that, but of course you got to heat all that up too. So that is so cool, because my biggest fear was like, hey, I'm going to turn one of these over, but I can weld up a frame that I can set it in that'll just, some little angle iron frames or something that'll hold it up, come up about a third of the way on it, and just make like a little thing for it to settle down into, that it would protect it. Because I certainly don't want to kick it over when I'm out there with hot steel in it and catching the driveway on fire. So, Kyle, thank you so much. That's great.
Yeah, like I said, the one that I sent, I definitely know that there's a like cantilever latch on both sides, so the lid comes completely off. So like on the 50 cal one, where it kind of just lays back, and you can hit that, like the lid is completely off, and it has a gasket all the way around the outside.
I put in a screw-in valve on mine, because when people close them back up and they're hot, and you go to open it and there's a vacuum, and you open it up and you splash oil. So I put a little tiny ball valve that I can just open up, relieves the pressure, and then I can open it back up without it going splish splash.
No, I just leave the top off till the next day. I don't know.
I can't do that. I have grandchildren. I have dog. It'll end up somewhere. So, but hey, that brings me to my next one, guys. Go out and get you an even heat kiln. You can find them at evenheat-kiln.com. That Spence and the guys over there hook you up with something right. If you're looking for a specific kiln and not sure what you want, we want you to find your next kiln at Pop's Knife Supplies. Give the guys over at Pop's a call. Let them know that you are looking for a even heat kiln, and they can walk you through the exact model that you need. You place your order, about 4 or 5 weeks later, they'll give you a call and let you know it's on its way. And you set it in your driveway with a smile and wait for it to get there, because your heat treating is going to be scientific. Scientific, I say.
That's right. There you go.
There you go.
I'm waiting for my call. I did talk with Dusty over at Pops this week and said, so am I going to get a tracking number? He says, just calm down. You're getting too excited. I'm ad-libbing in here a little bit, but I knew what he meant. You're getting too excited, man. Just chill out. It's being built, and when they finish it, we are going to charge you for it, and then they're going to give you the tracking number. You're just fine. Enjoy the wait. So it's kind of like December 1st, and Christmas is still 25 days away. And it could be here next week. I don't know when they'll call, but or email me. But anyway, I'm waiting. So guys, go get you an even heat. That's nice that they're built to order too. They can build exactly the specifications you're looking for.
Yeah. It's always fun getting new tools.
Yes. Yes. Unless you decide to get your new surface grinder with the rare earth magnets and learn as a safety engine real quick. Don't put your fingertips between the knife blank and the magnets. It will cause an avulsion. But I can show you guys. Guys, I'm almost healed up. I just have little spots that are still pulling together and closing up. But I'm good. I'm back. Go ahead.
Yeah, that had to be. Yeah, I've closed my finger between magnets before, but not those magnets, and so I couldn't imagine. That's got to be bad.
And as a safety guy, we always tell people, if something does that, don't pull. because your instinct is to pull away, and that's what causes avulsions or even sometimes degloving or amputation.
Yep.
And of course, it happened to me. First thing I did is, get my hand out of there. Oh, where'd all that blood come from? So,
Yeah.
But I followed Josh's advice, and I did an experiment. If you're using those, he said, hey, get you a piece of G10, cut it a little to the size of that, a little oversized on the length, and then put your that down, put your knife on that, and you can kind of slide it into place and move it around much better. When you go to remove it, you lift the G10 up, and the knife kind of pops away with it. That was day and night.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Pretty smart feller.
He is, except he has no neck. I hear that he's got a stiff neck tonight because he was doing something in a demonstration and he can't move his neck. So we'll go through that real quick. Josh is down because he can't look left or right. Eric just had a birthday, so he's eating steak and a cake that looks like a steak, but he's not eating a shake because he's lactose intolerant. Guys, right. These are behind the scene details y'all never hear. Jason is without internet. He found out, new home, finally got his electricity, waiting for his internet. They can't hook it up. We can't give it to you. So then he called his buddy Elon, and Elon is sending him a package. But right now he's living on one bar and barely getting through. So as soon as Elon gets him hooked up, he will be back with us. That leaves that's Josh, Jason,
Emily. I haven't. She's been really busy.
Emily is catching up after all of the shows. Yep. I talked to Clark Taplin today.
Oh yeah,
who is? We had a wonderful conversation about faith, and but he's busy as always, really itching to get his house sold so he can move out in the country and get him a new shop. Steve Katz is. He was down with a bug this week. I think he was pretty gnarly there for a couple of days, and said he went to the doctor and he's coming back. And I am leaving somebody out here, and it's just because of my age. It has nothing to do. Let's see. Steve, Emily, Kyle, Josh, Eric, Mark, Jason. I guess I got everybody. I guess I did. So we'll come to you guys. Mark, what are you up to? I see you're making a bunch of knives. I see you're promoting yourself as a probationary knife guild member. Good for you.
Well, really not that as much as just showing the knives, off that the last ones that I made, just trying to just get some more images out and really, like you said, start promoting VMAX custom works out there so a little bit more folks see that.
Hush your mouth. I'm doing the same thing. # probationary knife guild member.
But yeah, so getting a couple Instagram posts out there, and then making a batch of. I have 6 knives going right now. I have 4 of the EDC hunters that I make. Kind of more, some of the more the highlands with the fine spiling, the fancy scales, and some of those things. But trying some new stuff too. So instead of doing the false edge on all of them. I did 2 with the false edge, and then 2 of them I did some jimping closer to the tip. So if somebody wanted to use it more as a skinner, they can kind of get their finger up there, have a little more control over the blade. So did 2 of them like that.
I liked it when you rounded over the spine. It really tied that in very nicely too, by the way.
Yeah, and then again after sitting playing with all of Kyle's knives at Blade Show, and then wiping the fingerprints off. They're stainless, so I think I'll like it. But looking at that, the rounded soft spine really kind of gives that to me a finished professional look to it. And so started doing so rounded the spine on a bunch of those, and then I made 2 of the 6. I made a newer, larger hunter design. I'd say it's like a mid-size, hunter, in the same style as the EDC, but just a little larger. And then I'm trying to branch out on some file work. I've been doing the file work out of Kyle's book, and I was like, hey, let's try something, something a little bit different. So came up with, watched a couple videos of a couple people doing some stuff, and came up with something different, and we'll see how that goes.
You sound like a government subsidized full time knife maker.
I'm basically that.
You worked hard all these years. It's good for the government to pay you to, and I'm talking about your retirement, of course. So
yeah,
I'll be government subsidized knife maker in some years ahead of us, not too far off. So we'll see.
I will be much longer years.
I'll tell you after, I worked last year and I had my military retirement, and apparently I did not realize what tax bracket I was in. So I got hammered this year. And so now I got to make up. Next year I'll be much better.
So it says that Kyle Daly's recording will continue on a new track because they changed their device. Did you do that, Kyle? Sweet. Oh, I'm fine with it. I just want to make sure we get the recordings at the end. It's all about the recordings, man. It's all about the recording, not the bass. It's all about the recordings. There he goes again. He'll figure it out. Hey, so yeah, that's really cool. Now, is your shop air conditioned?
So I have Shannon bought me for Christmas a couple years ago one of those little portable air conditioners that will has a little duct and you can pipe it into a window. The air conditioner's inside, but so I have like a 10 by 12 shed as my shop.
Yeah.
And, so it's good enough to knock the mobile off inside. And if I'm doing file work at the vise or something like that, I blow it right on me. And so that's really nice. But, it's not enough to cool the shop down to, something really nice.
Yeah. I went out and, I had this barn fan that literally, because it would grab my beard, it was almost blowing me out of the shop. I gave it to my neighbor who said, "Hey, I went and put a speed controller on that and it's great. You got to come over and see it." And I'm like, but it was big. It was really big. Mm-hmm. So Mark, I went out and bought, I'm not going to have another tent story here, Kyle. I know how that affects you. But I did go out and buy the fan that you have from Harbor Freight. Mm-hmm. It's perfect in there.
It's nice, right? Yeah,
it's perfect. It's perfect size. So yeah, I just blow that up my shorts and stay cool. And I'm fine to go. But then I don't blow away anymore. But it's been so hot. It's been so hot. I enjoy the winter time because I'll go out there and it may be 25 degrees in my shop and I'll start my kerosene heater, come back in 30 minutes and it's maintaining about 62 to 68. It's about as warm as I can get it in there.
Oh, yeah. That's
and
nice.
It's really not bad at all, but I usually like it if I can get it like 62, 3-4 and wearing a flannel shirt, I'm perfect. But man, the summer's something else. Y'all been pretty hot up your way too, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been over 95 degrees the last week and a half, probably.
And wow. The Midwest usually gets like a couple weeks of hot weather, and then it goes back to being the beautiful Midwest again. But it's hung on there for quite a while.
We've had like 65 to 80% humidity, so that's been pretty rough. Also,
is your shop air conditioned?
I've got 2 window air conditioners in there, and we spray foam insulated the roof, and it made a huge difference. So usually just one of them runs in there. I haven't been working out there. I've been doing the engineering job lately and stuff inside, but the one running on high keeps it like between 70 and 75.
Nice.
That's perfect for me, especially if I got a little air moving around as well. Yeah, well, I'm getting some orders finished up, and I'll tell you guys, I have determined that I don't like brute to forge knives. I think they're kind of ugly, but gosh, they sell so well. And it was kind of interesting. We talked about that at Blade Show. You may not make a knife that's a knife that the Knife Guild or the Bladesmith Society would approve as a knife for that submission. And not that you couldn't make that, but just say if you made knives that were just appealed to you, they may not. And certainly I don't think brute to forge would necessarily fit those categories. But if people are buying them, some guys were talking and said, Jason was one of them, make what people buy, because when it comes down to it, you want to have a product that people want, not one that sits on the shelf and looks pretty.
Yeah.
And I posted some pictures of this brute to forge chef knife that I'm making right now that doesn't appeal to me at all. I think it just doesn't. And I sold 2 more. And every time I don't say no. I have a hard time saying no. I want to make knives and say, this is what I have for sale, and people buy them. But when people come at you and say, will you make me one of these? Something inside me just says yes before I can shut myself up. So I've got 2 more of those to make. So thank goodness for a forge press.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say no to some of that stuff. With the kitchen knives, I do kind of agree with you, Chip. I like them to be more like clean, so when you wipe them off and wash them or whatever, it's you don't have to worry about any bacteria or anything in there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're beautiful. And I will tell you, you guys saw the knife I made. I sent you a picture of it. It's not ugly. It's just rustic looking. I mean, a lot of people use things ugly, more rustic looking than that. It just doesn't appeal to me per se. But, and I think it did at one time when I was graduating up from learning to grind and this, that, and the other, but kind of moved on from it. But by gosh, they sell. So I guess I'll make some. What I would really like to get into, though, and it can be a little brute to forge, is these integral chef's knives. And you see Neil Kamamura make them. You see Morocco. You see Josh Ferran making them. And they have those deep heels, and they're drawn out very long chef's knives. And not so much in long, it's just the angles that they come down at this nice little point on the end. I think those are actually very attractive. And you don't have to finish on brute to forge. It's just that's something I would like to do. And for some reason, I can't seem to vision that in my head when I'm forging and get it where I want to. So, but I'll get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get little blocks in our brains, kind of like wanting to hit a golf ball straight and it just keeps going right and you can't figure it out. And eventually it comes to you. Sometimes knife making's like that too, especially on grinding. You ever notice that when you're grinding, you can get out of the groove and it's like, what am I doing wrong? Is it the belt? Is it me? Is it the tension? Yeah.
Yeah. And I've learned at those times, sometimes, it was like, it just doesn't seem like, I can get the grind like I've done in the past. That's where I just put it down, because I know if I keep going, I'm just gonna I'm gonna grind it into the scrap pile. And so, and I find out I'll come back another day, and then it seems like whatever that was, whether it was my posture or my something, it's just better.
Well, Kyle may be a human CNC, but I will tell you, now I still use jigs. I still freehand. I just do whatever I'm comfortable at the time, and I have no problems using a knife making jig. Doesn't make me less of a knife maker. Just I'm comfortable at some point using it. Some knives you can't do it on, like an integral. You're not going to be able to use a jig. And sometimes I'm just like, let me go ahead and get the flat spot in here and start working it up. It really just comes down to how I feel at the time about the particular knife I'm making. But every time I take a blank to a belt, I just sit back and just I just feel kind of lost. And it's not like I'm going into it with some known process. As many knives as I've made, it's not like a known process in my head that just clicks and becomes a machine. And I do my 45s and then I get my flats and then I start working it up. Actually, Kyle, your push stick tool has simplified some of that in my mind. But I go into every grind with a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
Not wanting to mess the knife up. And if I got it, is that something you guys experience?
On some of the steel I was using for the knife for Blade Show, Ira Housework made some absolutely beautiful low layer stainless Damascus for me. He did a MagnaCut core with some 154 CM and some ABL. So the MagnaCut had this really nice or beautiful, like dark or kind of light gray. The 154 was bright silver and the ABL was dark black. And when I was grinding that, I was pretty nervous,
Very cautious.
to try to make sure I didn't mess it up. And then I bought 3 big bars of stainless Damascus while I was there, some from Baker Forge and 2 bars from Damasteel. So it's
I saw how much you paid for those, and I will tell you right now, there's nothing wrong with the price you paid for them, but there's no way I could take those to a grinder without wearing an adult diaper.
yeah. So yeah, the steel that I'm working with is like the cost of what one of my knives sell for now. So before I do anything to it, so gonna be some pucker factor on that. So.
Yeah, that's what Chris Jones used to talk about. What do you call it? It might have been pucker factor that he used, but that's the best way to describe it. I go to my grinder every time, regardless of the knife, because every once in a while I've thrown away a blade that just got away from me. It doesn't happen that often, but occasionally it does, so it's possible. Every time I step up to the grinder, there's a pucker factor. So, yeah.
Yeah, I found that now I am much more confident doing like the first 75% of my bevel, because I kind of know that it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can do a lot of different gouges and hit it wrong, on up to that point and still recover and smooth it out. But it seems like once I get to that maybe final 75% of my bevel, that's all of a sudden, I approach it. And I, because you don't want to hit it, hit your spine too close if you're not going all the way to the spine, and then you don't want to hit your tip if you're almost kind of getting to that edge thickness that you want. And so I approach it sometimes 3 or 4 times just to make sure that I am right on that flat spot. And then if I can't, I just step away, because I was like, this is. Yeah. But yeah, I have that feeling that I'm just, because you don't want to throw away all that work. After.
I was saying, still 2 approaches, you're still going to go up that flat stop kind of a little wonky and have to lay it in there real quick. And it's just part of it. We're human, but I think it's the pucker factor. That's pretty good. I had learned that. Go ahead.
I know some people that are so much more nervous about the handle on it. So I know a handful of people that kind of do a preliminary grind, and then they'll put the handle on, shape the handle, and then do the finish grind once the handle is on. And that boggles my mind. I'm like,
see, now I feel better, because that's really weird. So I don't feel like the weirdest in knife making anymore. Yeah. No, do what makes you happy. I mean, even Jess Hoffman said that he grinds from the tip in, and a lot of people grind from the plunge line out, and
it works for him.
Let me, one thing I learned from that. Oh yeah, whatever works for you. And I've learned through knife making, don't start your plunge line where you want your plunge line to really start. Right. Give yourself, move 30% away, or not 30% of the knife length, but move yourself up, 2 levels of I can fix this, and then slowly, gradually take your way into it. And don't over grind your tip while you're grinding. I kind of do that part last, and then start feathering the tip into it and truing things up at that point. So those things come in last. But I went through this one stage where I was having such anxiety hitting the grinder. I would put it on an on a jig, and go up and grind in all of my flats to about 3/4 of an inch before I would ever go to freehanding. I hate to get an avulsion there, but freehanding, and then I realized I was just kind of being silly. Just go in and because, like you said, Mark, that first 80% of the grind, you can have wonky kind of things there. It's when you start dialing it in there at the end, you got to get careful.
Yeah. And I'll use the, sometimes I'll use the tilt table. I still use that. For some knives, I find that there's different knife profiles that lend themselves to different tools better than others, right? Like, so that cleaver that has that, very symmetrical bow shaped, edge, that's perfect, because you can kind of just, bring that back and forth.
The Katuna I made
That's right.
that was perfect for that as well. But I don't find myself using it so much anymore. But it's there as a tool if I need to. Certainly, if I make a bigger knife like that, maybe even a long sword or even a short sword may be nice on something like that.
Oh,
The
here.
thing
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll say the thing.
Those Scandi grinds are really good for that table also, where you do like a 30-degree straight to zero, really short bevel.
Yeah, that is true. That makes a lot of sense. I like that table. I actually got a piece of Teflon, adhesive Teflon, and Teflon my table, and it tends to work pretty good. It hasn't scratched up too bad, but it's nice. It's just you got to be careful with it, or it can get away with you as well. But it's just another tool. And speaking of tools, hey guys, I want you to go out and visit popsknifesupplies.com. They've been in business for well over 40 years. They're run today by Dirk Lukes, Joey Berry, and Alan Searles. And if you want something in knife making, they have it, or they can get it. And you need to go out there right now and check out the new Pro Cut steel. A lot of people are using it, and they're having lots of successes. It's a great steel. Go check out some Pro Cut at popsknifesupplies.com. Switching gears here a little bit. I've been watching some guys make knives lately, and guys that have been making knives a long time, and guys that have not. And it just may be a style of knife. You guys can help me out here, but I'm seeing a lot of knives here recently, and there's a few things that irk me. When people put in the choil after they've ground the blade, because
the sharpening choil or the handle finger choil?
No, the sharpening choil.
Okay, yeah.
They always put it in at the end of the blade after they've ground the blade, and it looks wonky. I always put mine in while I've got full thickness and grind down to it. And they just don't ever seem to get as symmetrical. They're half circles or whatever, but they don't seem to have really good shape. And I've seen a lot of people that are making knives that are doing these belt finishes, like they're taking their Scotch-Brite belts and doing a significant portion of the grinding with a Scotch-Brite and just really rounding off the knife. And it's almost like taking a really crisp photo and then blurring it, and it just, there's nothing sharp to it. And it looks, it just doesn't have the crisp edges and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I know quite a few people that, and it's usually towards the beginning of your making career. You don't quite get all the 60 grit scratches out with the 120. And then you think you kind of have a fairly decent 120. And then a lot of those guys have spent so much time on the knife that they just go to the Scotch-Brite and use it and don't go up any higher in the grits to get a really good base down before they use the Scotch-Brite. And then because they sell a few, they're like, yeah, it's fine. And you're like, usually they end up coming around after a year or so, and then fix them. But
yeah, I think one time I tried to, it's cool you said that, because there was one time where I tried to do Scotch-Brite to just clean up a knife, the belt finish, and I figured a Scotch-Brite belt finish, and really a Scotch-Brite belt finish is more of just a slight touch at the end. If you just want to put a certain finish on it, really doesn't have much. It's not a grinding belt. And I just didn't like the way it looked. But for some reason, I've seen a lot of people making those here lately. And I just kind of bite my tongue, because it's not my job, or I don't have the authority or the right to question what they're doing. It's their artwork. If they ask, you can tell them. But I don't know. It just seems that they're washing out a lot of steel. So I saw somebody, knowing how expensive Pro Cut is, I saw somebody had a Pro Cut knife, and that's what reminded me. I was talking about Pops, is that they had basically just washed this thing into a diluted butter knife, and with a sharpening choil that was wonky. And I was just, I looked at some of their other knives that they made, and they weren't terrible, but it just kind of surprised me that. I don't know. I guess that's the difference, and I guess it's just differences in abilities and styles and your artistic vision of what you see in things. Yeah. So I do know one thing. Mark, the next 4 knives that we make for Guild are going to be so much more difficult than the first 4 knives. It doesn't matter if they look at them harder or the same. They're going to be more difficult because it's going to eat us up trying to get to where we need to be for them. How are your final knives you submitted? Were you sitting there shaking on that one?
I was pretty nervous. Just trying to, make them to the best of your ability to really show off what you can do. So, yeah.
Were they kitchen
Yeah,
knives?
all 4 of mine were kitchen knives. That's predominantly what I make. Yeah, just trying to make sure that all the hand sanded finishes were super clean. And then one of the things that I kind of in my probationary one, there were a couple on my probationary knives where I had to go back and re-hand sand, so I had some J hooks up by the handle. Just trying to make sure that I didn't have to do that on the next one, or if I did, not to get the J hooks and stuff there.
I've had a couple people ask me, what did you do wrong? I'm like, what are you talking about? They said, you're on probation with the Knife Guild. And I said, no. It's the first level. It's called a probationary member. They're like, oh. So, yep. Just so you know, you may have to explain that once or twice. People ask me why I was on probation. Yep. So
getting in, not the way out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm going to do, I think, because I'm just testing the waters with a like a 3/32 thickness, I don't know, smaller chef knife that I'm going to try. And so I don't know, I'll see if I can get a couple of those, done. And I might try to do, my plan was to do, some kind of kitchen knife because that was something different, out of my comfort zone for my next ones. And then I wanted to do some kind of through tang, I don't know, takedown or just something with a pummel, on there, like a buoy with a pummel nut or something. And then I haven't decided what the other one's going to be. I thought dagger for a second, and then I was like, nah, I should just stab myself in the eye trying to submit that.
I would too. You could probably pull it off. I couldn't. So, but I would stab myself in the eye. I think what I'm going to attempt to do is make a set of 4 knives. I've been looking at journeyman knives, Bright Coop and other photos online.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to attempt to make a 4 knife set, but to make something in a journeyman type flare that the ABS would look for. And I'm not saying that I would be qualified or get them to that level, but who knows? Maybe I will. I'm investing in some tools and working hard to get there. So we will see. But I've been scouring, not necessarily to copy things, because it's fairly easy. I think they're knives, while there is some diversity in what knives you make in this, that, and the other. A lot of them have a very similar flair to them as far as how they're made and so on, and their appearance. So I think that's the route I'm going to go. So I'll probably do another buoy, a couple hunters, and then another utility knife, but they won't be exactly like the ones that I made last time. We will see. We'll see. Yeah. All you got to do is watch some Kyle Royer videos and just copy what he does.
That's right.
He makes it look so easy.
I saw he was doing another razor blade knife, I think. Using a whole bunch of the like shaving razors and tiling them all together and stuff.
I saw that your buddy Josh Fisher that sits beside y'all at Blade Show, he made a Pro Cut shaving razor, straight razor. It was and it was a fixed blade straight razor, which was a little different. But
where did you see that? Was it online or something?
I think it's on his Facebook page. You can see it there. Probably his Instagram as well. But it was a convex grind and just a beautiful knife. And it was made out of Pro Cut, so he was quite pleased with the material also.
Yeah,
but not as pleased is Kyle Daly placing an order for Phoenix Abrasives. You know, that guy goes through some belts, and he goes to phoenixabrasives.com, and they got great deals for Kyle and everybody, great selection, quality, quick deliver, and they've got a complete inventory of belts, discs, rolls, wheels, and anything else you need to get the job done right. Kyle's going to put in KP10, and we're okay if you do that, but you can also put in Templars 10 at checkout for 10% off your next order. So whichever route you go, we're brother podcast here, so we're just fine. Put either one you want. KP10 knives or
They've
tempers
got
10.
a new belt in. They've got the Incinerator 36 grit is one of the ones I love for MagnaCut, and now they have that in a 60 grit also.
I saw that today. It's about $11 or $12 a belt. I think I saw, and it'll go a long way.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
And then talking to Greg at Blade Show, they're having a whole new line of ceramic belts that are coming out. They're going to call them the Phoenix Fire brand. They should be up any day now, but it's going to be an even a little bit higher performance, heavier backed belt, but at an even less expensive price point. And then those are also going to come in. I think he said 220 grit and 320 grit, and they're working on getting a 400 grit ceramic. So,
Nice.
Wow. You know, I bought a lot of belts from Pop's Knife Supplies, and I love their house belt, the one that they use. And I think on 2 shows ago when we had Joey on our last show, I was telling about using their belts. But I did talk to Greg and Sean at Knife Show and said, you know what, guys, I've been buying some of your belts, and I sit and jump on a soapbox for you on every episode. So I said, after Blade Show, every belt that I buy in the next 12 months is going to be from you. And they said, okay. So they weren't going to say no, but I was kind of having a confession for you Catholic listeners out there. I was having confession with Reverend or with Father Sean and Father Greg. Did I say Greg in the beginning? I hope I did. Greg and Sean. But anyway, I was having confession, but I have not been doing so. I'll be putting in Templar's 10. I've got whenever I buy something, I always buy some belts anyway. And I've got so many belts right now. I probably won't buy any for a couple months, but when I do, I'm placing a nice order.
Making stainless blades, I really like those Bora 7, they're purple ceramic Phoenix.
At Phoenix? Yeah. And I do have several boxes of their belts also. I'm just going to up the ante, and since I send so much to Pops for other things, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm sending all of that out there as well. Putting my dollars where my mouth is.
Yep. It's always good. Yeah, I've been buying belts from Phoenix since like 2010. So.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Now has Sean and Greg been there the whole time?
Yeah, I met them the first year I went to the Badger Knife Show up in Janesville, Wisconsin. It's at the end of March.
Yeah.
And that's when I started buying some of my first belts, and then was using that to make my first grinder and stuff and everything. And I didn't finish my first knife until 2015. So that's when I say I started. So
you've still got that knife, right? Okay, good. I remember you saying something about knives. I thought you said you had
it's
that
in
one.
the gun safe, and we don't use it anymore. The handle's not very great, but we used it for probably 4 or 5 years.
10-4. I don't have my first knife. I wish I did, but because if I did, I would do like we were talking about. I got the handle on. Now I'm going to go regrind it because I could do so much better.
There's a couple knives that I've made like that I've that I have in my possession that I've thought about editing or redoing, and then I also kind of just like having it as a time capsule type thing.
Yeah, there's something, because I do go back and look at the photos of some of my early knives. It's a good thing to do. Well, VMAX, I grabbed the whole syllabus for tonight. What were we going to talk about? Anywhere you want to take us down the road, or are we just freewheeling it tonight?
So I think we can hit 2 things. I wouldn't mind bringing up real quick how the Knife Guild demo went this past Saturday down here at the South Alabama Knife Guild meeting, and then a couple things that came up there, and then I think we discussed a little bit of maybe new things that we might try, in the future to challenge, things that we haven't done before, or things that might be out of our comfort zone to work, which also might be good on another episode when a couple more folks are on there. But we could always ask that question to them in future episodes.
Well, let's come to that right back after this. That song always reminds me, Mark, you've been swimming up to Maritime for so long, and then I found out that you and your wife now have a horse, and I can just see you throwing on your Wranglers and your dude boots, and you're rolling tobacco and a nice cowboy hat, and just kind of riding her on up there to Maritime Knife Supply. Giddy up. Giddy up. Guys, go to MaritimeKnifeSupply.com. I tell you what, Lawrence has got such great products and service as well in Canada. He also ships internationally, and that is also to here in the United States. You need to check out their great deal service and know that Maritime Supply provides a knife maker what they need to get the job done right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Stumbling there.
I've got a $100 gift card with Maritime Knife Supply that I need to figure out what I want to get.
Nice.
What you say? You got $100?
Yeah. So one of the guys that I'm friends with, Travis Haynes of Pelican Paste, he was doing a challenge coin for the Blade Show, and if you bought the challenge coin for $25, he was going to give you 25% off any in-person sales. And Lawrence said, I'll throw in a $100 gift card, and then Brian House threw in a carbon steel skillet kit.
Oh, wow.
So I bought some stuff from Travis. I didn't use my 25% off because I didn't buy enough to really make it overly beneficial. And I want to see him do well. So him and his wife were both working the table, doing a great job. So but then when they had the drawing after Blade Show, I ended up winning the skillet and the gift card. So
nice. That's awesome.
So, Mark, are you going to discontinue boating and swimming around the Maritime? You're going to get a buckboard and just start riding it up there? And
no, I think there's all kinds of opportunities for different modes of travel. I thought, one time if Shannon rode the horse and in the winter, she can pull a toboggan or something behind her, and I can kind of sled up there.
A one horse up and sleigh. There we go. Hey, I'm being silly. Go ahead and take us into your conversations tonight.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll start with our guild meeting. It's a little bit smaller this month. We have to make sure we get definitely 6 guild meetings. I think full guild meetings to get our full membership. As a guild. I don't know. I think we're probationary guild, or I don't know what they officially call us down here. But yeah. So had another meeting, and since it's the summer, we decided that hey, let's not do something outside with forging and hot steel and everything else. And so they asked Josh. Josh asked me if I wanted to do a firework demo. Because I was talking to him, he was one of the ones I was showing, my knives to, asking him if I should, submit them to the guild and at Blade Show, and we were discussing the firework, before Blade Show. So, he asked me if I can do a demo, and so I went up there. I hadn't done some fireworks since those last knives, so I had to pull out Kyle's, book again. Went through it. And kind of brushed up on everything, but yeah, did a quick demo with a little thorn pattern firework on there from the I had some knife blanks that I had just profiled, and so marking it up and the importance of getting your marks and lines all done right, and to the different tools you can use to getting those done, and just a lot of techniques that Kyle went over in his class at Blade Show that he did. I definitely couldn't do it full justice, but the good thing is that we were actually doing some hands-on work there, so that worked out pretty well. And so and so it worked good. Got one of my knives done there, so that's that was one less I had to do at the house. And the great thing is that at Josh's place, he's got his huge outbuilding, and he's got his machine room, which is definitely fully air conditioned, which is he has all his machining tools in there, and then a little
nice.
Work table, and then he keeps all his belts in there and all his wood in there and all his steel in there. And so I mean his machining room is like probably at least 3 times as big as my entire shop, and that is just like a little piece of his outbuilding. So yeah.
He's a good man. I like that guy. I need to come down and visit one of those. You guys are also, I heard, talk to Mareko at Blade, and are going to get him to come down there and do a demonstration as well at some point in time.
Yeah, I think he's been Josh has been talking to him. I think he's talking the spring. I have a list. He went over. We had a discussion of what the next like maybe 6 or 8 months of guild meetings should look like. And so I think we were talking the spring. I have to look what that is, but hoping to get a big show in there, and to again collect enough money to make sure we pay him for his time to come down and give us some great information and a demo. It might be a multiple day. He said it might actually be a multiple day type of demo where he completes like a full project. And so yeah.
Well, that'd be a lot of fun. I would love to pay to come see that.
Yeah.
So I've got some iron in the hat stuff for our next one. I was cleaning out my shop, making room for my new equipment, and I uncovered 3 1x30 leather stropping belts. I found probably 45 brand new 1x30 belts, and also an angle guide that's unopened for sharpening knives, which is almost impossible to use those things on a 1x30, but go at it. Go for it, guys. And then I found some glass platens because I can never buy. When I was fishing, when I was doing a lot of bass fishing for 30 years, you always bought at least 3 lures. You never went in and bought one of one lure. You bought 3. So, when I go out and get a glass platen, I got to have 3 glass platens, So I've got a lot of guys are, using those 1x30s. So I'll be taking those for iron in the hat at our next guild meeting. See if we can't make a little money off of those.
Yeah, it's good if folks. Yeah, I have to ask if folks are using them down here, because I have the same thing. I have this big bin of a bunch of assorted grit that I haven't even touched for 1x30s, because at some point I went over and went to the 2x72. So
yeah, I you were talking about the guild meeting, the Alabama Custom Knife Makers Guild, which is a sister guild to you. We both exist under the Alabama Forge Council. And we've been in place for about 1.5 years or 2, and you guys have been in place for about the last 6 months or 5-6 months. So great seeing us all come together and get stronger and stronger, enjoying it. Not saying we're the big brother by any means. I'm just saying that, it's nice to see us spawning off. So they asked me to come in and do a presentation on my guild submission knives. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to talk about building them, because it's not rocket science, and that's what I want to explain to them. It really comes down to attention to detail. And, I always tell people when I was making fishing lures, but I always tell them, if you build a house and you don't make sure that it's square and true and plumb and sanded and things are put in correctly along the way, you'll finish a house that looks like a Minecraft house. But worse. It won't be perfectly square. That you've got to build those right steps in all along the way. So if you want to make a knife that's worthy of a guild submission or an ABS or something like that, you've got to ensure all of those things are as they need to be along the way. But then I'm also going to stress to the folks that Do what makes you happy. This doesn't make me a better knife maker than anybody else. It means I was able to produce four knives, and to continue to be able to do that, hopefully, to meet the requirements for this. But I'm going to kind of go back to you do you, because it's important that if you're making brute to forge or you're making belt finish knives and people are buying them, keep doing that. Keep selling your knives, keep going there. But if you're interested in this is what I think that it takes to get there. So I think it's very important that we don't put ourselves, and I'm talking about life in general, not the guild, because like I said, I'm just a probationary member, that we don't put ourselves on a pedestal for anything. Because number one, you can be humbled and knocked off that soapbox very quickly. But number two, to be a light for others, you've got to show them the path to get to where you are and let them make their own decisions. So I want to make a very humbling presentation, and then let them make their judgment on what they want to do and how good my presentation was, if they want to ask questions or whatever. I know that I haven't sat through your presentation, but I've heard you talk. I'm sure that a lot of people hold you in high regard. I know Mark does with your file work and all that, Kyle, that I'm sure that it a lot of people walk in and kind of put you on a pedestal when they come into your training classes and such. And you've got to kind of step back down and look at them eye to eye and let them know that, hey, I'm just Kyle Daly. And, don't show up at my house with my family there like we talked about, but I'm just Kyle Daly and I'm a friend of the maker and we're all just makers kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that presentation quite a few times now, and it's become pretty polished. So went pretty well.
So the who's the one that has you do that, because they keep bringing you back every year, so of course it must be a successful class. Is it the lady that runs Blade?
Yeah, Alicia.
Show? Alicia, that's right.
It's through the Blade Show University that they set up and organize and pick all those classes, and sometimes they ask you if you want to teach something different, and that's when like the first couple years I did the file work class, then it became I got through that pretty well, and then added some of the handle shaping stuff on there and talked about some of the pins and stuff like that.
How did you get into it to begin with, teaching those classes? Do they just recognize your work and ask you, or?
So we had Alicia on our podcast, and it was shortly before that when she was looking at my application. She saw my phone number had an 812 area code, which is Southern Indiana. And she goes, are you from Southern Indiana or from Indiana? I'm like, yeah, I'm from Columbus. And she's from Columbus too. And turns out
oh, wow.
A lot of our family knows each other. So
that worked out perfectly.
Yeah, so I had mentioned to her that I was interested in teaching and stuff like that, and then the first class I did sold out, and then she had ever since then she's had a bunch of people message her and tell her after the class how much they enjoyed the class and everything. So it's been good.
You need to get with your local community college and get them to letting you teach this on a regular basis as part of a class of sorts. What do they call it? What do you call the classes you have to take that aren't your core classes?
Electives? An elective?
What's that? Yeah. Kind of teach an elective course along those lines.
The DuPage Community College, they have a really big technology center. I don't know if they do any knife making stuff or anything. That could be interesting. I know they do a ton with like machining and welding and stuff like that. So lots of the fabrication stuff.
It's a whole, sometimes, even for one semester, it might be worth them, trying a new elective kind of course, even though I'm sure theirs has to be, like a syllabus, written up and some, some, I don't know, I forget what we call it, testable outline. When I was teaching, there's a name for it all, but yeah, I mean, it's probably not too hard to do for a basic knife making course. That might be something that gives a lot of those folks a new avenue that they hadn't looked at, and not necessarily that they're going to go out and all be professional knife makers, but just see an aspect of making or industry that maybe they haven't experienced
Yeah,
before.
I'd love to do some more classes and stuff. If my workshop wasn't at my house, I would probably uh, try to push that a little bit more. Right
Hmm.
now, I've done a few classes with people that I know or local people. Um,
Oh,
mhm.
like at your house? Yeah, yeah. That's kind of hard. You don't want necessarily folks coming from, if you had like a big, separate shop or something like that. That was, I don't know. I think there's a piece that, hey, a lot of folks that are great people, but then who knows? You
Yeah,
just don't know.
my shop is in a detached garage, so it's still a little bit separated, but um, I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
makes sense.
and like
I'm kind of like that too. I've had some people that just kind of want to show up here, and it's kind of like, it's getting a little close, you
yeah.
know.
Well, and my shop is pretty tight. It's set up for me to work most efficiently by myself, and is not
Hmm.
extremely conducive to having more than maybe one other person in there watching while you're otherwise like got kind of like some small with workbenches kind of like back to back. So there's maybe 4 feet in between them. So you can grind on one side, turn around, grab another knife, put the other one down, type thing. Um, so that stuff's not more than like a step away from you at the different stations.
Yeah. No, it's definitely So I think a prime example is right. We had Walter Sorrells on here. I don't know episode a few or ago, and when you look at his older videos in his shop, there was not much room in that. Before he got his big nice
Mm,
building. And now it just it becomes there's a lot of room,
yeah.
right? And so and I think there's a lot of knife makers out there that you've seen that transition at some point, once they're getting big enough to support that. But, that's something that, it's another piece. I know Eric, right? Eric's going to start doing, I guess he plans to start doing some more classes, so he added that additional concrete slab in the building. So, he's got a little bit more room on there.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
Listening to Bob Terzola talk about it, he goes, "I've had many shops away from the house and many shops at the house, and I much prefer the shop at the house." Um, and he
Yeah.
he has a lot of people over for classes and stuff now too. But he was like, inevitably, you have the tool you need at the wrong location. So
That's
it's
right.
like have either spend so much money having duplicate stuff everywhere, or when it's all at the house, you can go out and use the table saw or bandsaw or whatever you need to cut or different things like that.
And I think it's just so more. I know that there might be, if it's truly a production business, then there might be something that said to, hey, leave work at work, and then it becomes more of a business like that. But I think at least in our circle, it's just so more convenient if you have a small chunk of time. You're like, hey, I can get this process done real quick, and you could just run down there and do a little bit more and then go back, something that you would decide that, hey, I'm just not going to do it today if it was at another
Yeah.
location. So I think I get a lot more time having something right
Yeah.
here.
But it's also, I know Dan Eastland, he had the same thing.
Hmm.
His wife was like, you need to have an offsite thing. So when you're home, you're home. Um,
Yeah.
I fall into that trap somewhat frequently that I come downstairs, do a few things, and the next thing I know, it's been an hour and been away from the family. So stuff like that. So,
Yep. No, makes sense.
but yeah, lots of good things being at the house, like being able to um, fix the kids stuff, getting them into the shop some too has been really fun. having them work on some of their own projects. One of my wife's teacher friends, her husband worked for Home Depot, and they had a ton of these project kits that they do. It's like once a month, every Saturday or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And all the leftovers, they kind of just push them all into the corner, and you can take them as you want. And he grabbed a bunch of them and gave them to Courtney, and we've built quite a few of those. There's like a little like putt whole thing that kind of like comes back around and kind of uses gravity to shoot it back to you, and different things like that.
Yeah, I think I guess for me the and I shot a quick message in the group. I'm although we're not house hunting, like we're going to buy something tomorrow. We really bought this house just because there wasn't anything else available when I retired. So we've been soft looking for houses for a while, and having a house with a separate shop, a large separate shop would really be the best, scenario for me. Something that has room for me to expand, but also is at the same location, so you could just kind of walk out there. I don't know. That might be a good discussion topic for a lot of the other folks too on other episodes. See, what do they think? Do they like a on site? Is it too tempting to spend all your time there and you lose family and just social time because because we're all obsessive about trying to get stuff done and you lose track of time? Or is it better because you can get more time and you wouldn't actually be off site and you can spend more time with the family and just pop down for 30 minutes and finish something that would have taken you 2 hours if it was off site to drive and open up shop and doing all that. So yeah, that's a what do you think, Chip?
I like the picture of the shop that you sent me before. It'd be terrible to heat and cool, but that was a man's shop.
It was. That was it was all concrete floor, had that second level deck, had a power winch if you wanted to bring stuff up to that second level. It was really nice, and had a couple big fans in there. Unfortunately, in Alabama, you couldn't use. I've been places where you can use swamp coolers that really would do a great job on big areas like that. But since you can't put any more humidity in the air than it's already is right now, then those don't help. But it's big enough that it's not suffocating. So you have a couple big floor fans on there, and even with the heat, when we're out with the horse or something like that, as long as there's a light breeze, I mean, a light breeze makes all the difference. So
for a big shop like that, would it make sense to try to get some sort of like big dehumidifier to like suck the humidity out of that building area, or does that not really work?
Be kind of difficult. That'd take a lot of energy to move that much moisture.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't two levels, if the ceiling was like maybe a standard size, it might be able to, like that same size building, but it wasn't like two levels. I think you could probably, if you had big enough dehumidifier, it'll help. But you every time you open a door, right, this big roll up, so you got to keep that closed, and every time you open a door, all the swamp rolls in. So
yeah, what you need there is just one of those giant ceiling fans, like you see at some of the steakhouses that have like a 10-foot blades on them, and you just put it on high and just hope it doesn't fall down and chop you in half.
And what I would do if I bought that place is I would put up like a separate room on the side that's an air conditioned room. In there for certain work, and then section that off so it could be dehumidified and air conditioned, so that I can have my the things that should not be in humidity in there, and in a place to do certain work.
Perfect thing like to have a grinding room with just dust controls there, and then have a leather room.
That's right.
Josh Howard's got a leather room that's really nice, air conditioned upstairs in his. So anyway, I'm working out of my garage with a Harbor Freight fan on high.
There you go.
Hey, tell me something here. I just checked my local TikTok channel, and I went from getting like 100, and if it was really good, I might get 300, 350 hits. And all of a sudden, things took out. I put out 3 videos today. One's gotten almost 1,000. One's over 1,000. One I put out 2 hours ago has already got 800. And I know that's not big in the big scheme of things with people with 1.5 million followers. It's just like all of a sudden, bam! I don't know what
If you
I don't know
Oh,
what
here we go.
TikTok is. Is that what is that?
if you
It's like OnlyFans but for knife makers.
if you had 1,000
I guess I haven't branched out
if
to
you
TikTok
have
yet.
1,000 people in your
Mm.
shop, that's still a lot of people seeing your stuff.
It is, and they're just goofy little videos. But anyway, just I don't know. I guess maybe it's because I'm getting more subscribers or something, and it's showing it out to
Yeah,
more locations.
sometimes things like that, I think they go exponentially, right? Like, and so you get, maybe if you get, 50 more followers or something, or 20 more followers even on one site, then they see something that they like and they share it. Well, then they get that network, right? And then that gets shared to, bigger and bigger. And so, at some point, I'm sure there's a number where that, like something good that you have enough of your followers forward it becomes
Yeah.
viral. So
I've got Kyle's checking his TikTok right now to see if what's happening here. But I mean, they're 1,000 views on a video is not insignificant. It's not like some of these that get thousands of views, but interesting. So
no, that's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I get like 5 on my Instagram.
Yeah.
That's one thing I haven't really done is Instagram. I have my website and Facebook, and then everything I do on Facebook also post to Instagram, but I don't really do anything special there.
Yeah, I'm like the opposite. I mainly am on Instagram, and things kind of just post onto Facebook, and then haven't really done anything with my TikTok. Yeah, I pretty much was so busy with everything leading up to Blade Show, and kind of just finally getting back into the swing of wanting to make stuff again. Had a little bit of stuff to do, and then worked on my little area here down in the shop. It was kind of like Chip's tent post, showing progress pictures of redoing my office area down here, and pulled everything out, got some new carpet. Yeah.
I like your carpet, by the way. That made a big difference.
I had some carpet
nice.
down here before, but it was like 5 different pieces that were all kind of like Tetris together. Now it's all just one big piece. Went to a carpet store, local family owned carpet store, and said, I'm not like super particular on any color or anything. It's like, got any cash? I'm like, I sure do. And his eyes got like super big. He's like, come on back to the back. He had all these like leftover rolls or things that got cut off.
Remnants.
So,
remnants.
Yeah, for $45, got a piece that was 7 feet by 9 feet, and he gave me a whole bunch of the mat to go underneath. So I put a double layer of mat because the desk that I made,
oh nice,
the base that I bought is rise and lower, so it can raise and lower like 40 inches. So that's been really nice for the engineering job, being able to vary it up a little bit, stand up, sit down, kind of get the blood flowing in the legs.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, speaking of, I spent so much time on airplanes the last, I was gone 22 days this month. And now I think I'm home for the next 6 weeks, even though I was asked if I might be able to go over to Georgia next week for a couple of days, but that's not so bad. I'm so tired of riding in planes all bound up back there in the coach section. I get off those planes and it's just you could almost feel the blood start running in your body again. So it's nice to get up and run.
Getting all tense, stepping up to the grinder. When I fly, not that I'm scared of flying, but I don't know what it is, but I cannot like calm down until I'm like sitting at the gate. So like going through all
Ah.
the security and everything, I'm like worried that I'm not going to be there on time. So I always leave like super early. I'd rather like sit in front of the gate for an hour or hour and a half than be trying to like run to my gate there and barely make it.
Well, you guys know what happened to me this week. I told you, but I get there a little early too, and then I sat there with a plane with no drivers, and at 6:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock rolls around, they show up, and still nothing happens, and then they take the bridge out to the plane, and by the time this is like the third schedule they've changed, and or reschedule, they go, okay, the plane has now got a mechanical issue, and we don't have a time for when it'll be fixed. I'm like, I've got to be in North Carolina tomorrow. So I walked up, got a refund, ran out to my car, and started driving up through North Huntsville. I was 20 minutes away from the airport at that point, and I get a reminder, or I get a notice on my phone. Your plane is now boarding. So I got up at 3 a.m. and left, went to the airport, left the airport at noon, and then drove 8.5 hours to North Carolina. And I was like, I was angry. And I'm not a person that gets angry at people. Things do happen. I don't worry about that. I get over it. But my retribution when I was coming home, I left North Carolina at 5:30 in the morning Central Time and got home 30 minutes before the return flight landed. So I was like, yes, I beat it back. It beat me there, but I beat it back.
Nice.
But here's my thing on planes. All of that getting to doesn't really bother me. I give myself plenty of time. I had to run through Dallas a couple weeks ago, or jog, not jog. I had to walk. I had to walk fast, and just made it just as they were opening up the gate to get on. But I when I'm sitting there in the plane, and I'm not afraid of planes either, but I say a prayer, ask for God to get me up in the air, and He knows that I've prepared for anything that may happen in my life, whether it's on a plane, in a car, from a heart attack or whatever, and just tell him to, take care of my family, because two worst times in a plane is landing and taking off as far as risk assessments go. But so far I always get up in the air and everything's fine. And I say thank you to God for successful there. But this past one, I was leaving, where was I? I was leaving Dallas on my way back on Friday of last week. And you've got it's the motors that drive the flaps, and they hang down underneath. In remote control airplanes, we call those servo motors, but it's whatever's underneath there that causes the flaps coming down. Well, the one on the inward wing, there was two under each wing, and I'm sitting there next to someone, I'm looking out. The one on the inner wing is just shaking back and forth as we're going, and the plane's moving and rolling down. I'm like, nothing on a plane should be shaking like that when you're going. And of course, this is how people end up dead, because I was like, well, it's really shaking bad. Maybe it's not shaking bad enough that it's going to fall off. Oh, I don't know. And I said to myself, but I'm not going to tell anybody, because if I shut down this plane for this plane that's already late, this was not the one I drove to North Carolina Friday. I said, these people are going to be pissed at me. And I just said, well, let's see what happens. I just threw my life to the wind on just see what happens. And we took off. And as soon as the flaps pulled up into the wing, it was there. It was secure. It was tight. And as soon as we landed and it went down, it started shaking a little bit again. So I said, I say a prayer for the people on the next flight. I assume that's the way that thing's supposed to work. And everything was fine. So that's how people die. You're too ashamed to stand up and say, I don't think that's working right. So anyway, next time I fly, I'll always sit in the same seats on every plane everywhere I go, 22A and 16A, on the same planes everywhere I go. And I'll watch those motor housings next time to see if it was just that plane or not.
Yeah, I do that. I have inspected, I don't know, hundreds of aircraft. I don't know how many, but I'll look at the skin. I was like, hey, I could see that there's a line of cracks and these rivets are loose because of this. And so I really stopped looking out the window. If if I see if a wing falls off or a flap just kind of left the aircraft, a part of the aircraft, I'll let the stewardess know or them know. But besides for that, I really try not to inspect the aircraft because it is just not.
It'll scare you to death.
It will.
Well, I do. Here's how I reasoned. I said, certain engineering designs have to allow for some vibration because if things are too rigid, they could break. So that's how I justified it in my mind. It's supposed
was this on the ground or is this in the air that you saw?
This is as it's rolling down the runway.
Yeah, so a lot of times when there is a force applied to a lot of these things, the force is meant to be in the opposite direction that the looseness is, and so it might be loose coming down because you have no air pressure against that flap, but as soon as you get some airflow against that thing, it probably
it quit shaking right away and it held tight to the wing. I'm still here, and I did the right thing by not trying to save my skin, by not trying to upset the plane to go back to the to the gate because some guy's watching this thing shake.
One of my engineering professors said, "I will count it as a win if you're like at an amusement park and you're like, if that bolt there breaks, like everything's coming down."
That's right.
I say I don't take my kids to amusement parks because some old guy told me years ago, he goes, I never take my family to something that some alcoholic or drug addict or just got out of prison assembled the night before. I'm like, well, he's got a point there.
The good old carnies.
Yeah, and I'm one for everybody finding faith and healing in this, that, and the other. But then again, I've been to enough fairs as a kid, and I've seen enough things broken in this, that, and the other. I'm like, there's some truth in that. They don't have an engineer that's coming out making sure that's all together. I know they have inspectors and stuff that have to look at stuff, but you just never know.
Roller coaster, the first time that they put actual people on it, they put a whole bunch of really wealthy people on it, and it was the first one with a loop, and they made the loop perfectly circular, and they did all the run throughs with the weighted bags and stuff to make sure it wouldn't fall down. And if you go through a circle, perfect circle, you actually speed up significantly on the way back. And most everybody on that first roller coaster thing died because the force was so much on their necks that it broke most all their necks.
Oh my god!
That's why all the loops and stuff are teardrop shaped. So as you go up, you slow down and then pick your speed back up as you come back out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've kind of realized, when they're going through those loops, there is kind of a deceleration. Yeah.
Yep. That's why.
Good. That's why it's good. I Wikipedia a lot of stuff, and that sounds like an interesting article to read. So I'm gonna check that out sometime. I love science. So speaking of science, guys, New Jersey Steel Bearing, there's some guys out there. You can find them at NewJerseySteelBearing.com, and they've got high quality scientific steel. And they've been around since 2010. They also have water jet services, heat treating, and much, much more. So go check them out at NewJerseySteelBearing.com. And while we're at it, Emily's working hard getting her. She did so well at the show she's been to lately. Mm-hmm. She is pouring and pouring and pouring, making beautiful handle materials. So go out and check Emily at castingcrafts.com and see what she's got for you to put on to dress your steel up with as far as the handle goes. So that is that. That is
beautiful
that.
Stuff. Yep.
She does.
Something. Can I throw it back to something we were talking about in the beginning?
By all means.
So I know you were mentioning.
Can I remind you? You are the executive director of programming.
And it's a team sport.
It is, but I have a red box. And if I start getting too involved, you're just supposed to tell me to step in the red box.
Oh, okay.
So that you take care of your business.
Yeah, I have a whole that'll be for another episode. I have a story about being stepping inside the box. But okay, But yeah, so at the we were talking about different grinding methods, and we were talking about the tilt table a little bit, and then you mentioned the push stick, and and comfort. Um, Something I had not seen before, right? And so it's always great to say that, wow, I haven't seen this before, and it's a new method. Was after the guild meeting, I was hanging out with Josh a little bit more. We're actually working on a forge. He's helping me. He's helped me refinish one of his old blacksmiths, or his horseshoeing, forges to make it like more of a knife forge. And so we're redoing that. But he was showing somebody his grinding room. And so he has a lot of products for his grinder. He doesn't have a grinder from, but he has a lot of products from his grinders from Travis Wirtz. You're familiar with Travis? Yeah. And so one of the things he had, which was really interesting, there was a lot of great grinding accessories he had, but just this small little attachment was a screw, a little handle or screw knob with a one of those, I don't know what you call them, machinist gauges, the plunger kind of gauges, attached to it, that attached to the back of his platen and a platen assembly, right? And so what he would do is to get his bevels. Is he would actually screw that out, and it was attached to his platen, so it would angle it towards him, and his bevel jigs were all at 90 degrees. So he had his flat table, and then all his grinding jigs that he had a pinhole made for each knife, so it was very easy. It sat right inside the pinhole that he normally drill for that knife, but it would always keep the knife at 90 degrees, and then it would tilt the platen forward by that 3 degrees or whatever the bevel was for there, right? And then he would just adjust that dial to the bevel angle he wants, for that knife. And but his table and his bevel jig always stayed at 90 degrees, so it was really easy to keep that and just move the platen. So again, it was unique. I took a picture of it. I'll send it to everybody in chat. But yeah, it was a unique engineering solution to another way to, instead of getting a bevel grinding jig where you're changing the jig angle on there, is to be able to change your platen angle.
That's actually
and do
very
that. So.
Very unique, different approach. Yeah, and the thing is, if you could have a stop point that your jig goes up, your 90-degree jig goes up to, so it doesn't exceed that and push in further, man, that would make for some very crisp, straight grinds, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think really for him, like I don't think he still has a center line mark, and he has a bevel, like his bevel height mark, right? And so if the angle's correct, then all you do is keep going in until you hit that bevel height, mark, and then you're good. So
yeah, I'm just talking about the human part of me that just pushes a little too hard one time.
Oh yeah,
if you had that stop, it would keep you from doing that. I've seen some of those push stick type apparatus. I think Tyrell had one that you put the knife in there, and it's got something that holds it a certain way and kind of keeps the knife from moving any further. I think it holds the spine in place or something like that.
Yeah,
but
the bottom in place, and then you can change that the distance for the bottom of the spine. And
Kyle, how the push stick's been selling?
Sold a lot at Blade Show, so I haven't need to do some videos and get some stuff up on YouTube. I've got some plans on doing a bunch of that stuff for YouTube coming up.
I'm getting ready to use your push stick to make a knife this weekend, so I'll see if I can't get you some B-roll.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you.
Need to do a video for YouTube on the water cooled quench plates, and for the SL stone holders and stuff like that. Get some of that stuff up on YouTube.
I told you guys I talked with Mr. Clark Taplin today. He gets up at 3 like me and drinks his coffee and reads his Bible. And we had a great Bible study as I was driving into work this morning. Matter of fact, He didn't realize I had to go to work. We could have had an all-day Bible study if I didn't just cut him off. I love that guy. I'm waiting for Clark. I know you listen to these episodes. Clark, invite me to your house to play in your shop. I'm asking you. I want to. I'm not waiting for you to invite me anymore. I'm asking you to invite me. I want to come play at your house. So, but hey, you know what? He's making some beautiful presses. He also has some wonderful forges. Guys need to visit clarkironforge.com. And he makes some of the best hydraulic presses out there. I just used one to make a knife, and it's so wonderful how that 25 ton just moves steel. And the interesting thing is 25 tons for $4,000. Where can you get that as of today? 25 tons for $4,000. If you want it shipped, it's an additional $700. If you drive just around to the area of Franklin, Tennessee, which is right below Nashville, you save that $700, and he'll help you put it in the back of your truck. So, or your trailer. So go visit Clark Taplin at clarkironforge.com. Not quite sure what you need. You want a 17, a 25, or a 40, or a forge? Give him a call on his number off his website. He'll be happy to talk to you.
Nice.
Yes, sir. I think I got through all of those tonight fairly seamlessly. I did pretty good.
Awesome.
I'm not as good as those guys over at Knife Talk. They do a really nice job with their advertisements. I do miss Get to the Chopper when they used to do that. I forget what that was for, but somebody there did it might have been Even Heat when they were doing that several years ago. Okay. So did you talk to Fader at Knife Show?
Yeah, he stopped by the table, talked to him for a little bit, and showed him a few of the knife making tools and stuff like that. And yeah, he's always I've known him for a really long time, so it's always great to see Jeff.
Oh, no. Did he buy anything?
Not for me. Well, not for
me. Son of a gun. He didn't get a push stick.
He goes to get a whole bunch of the handle material, so that's what he was spending all of his money.
Yes, yeah, he did mention that he was going to go load up on handle material. I would really love to meet him, and hopefully find him in a sincere moment when he's got just a chance to say hello and just speak for a few moments. But I've always enjoyed his tenacity. He is quite the character. He is a New Yorker for sure, but I love the artistic New Yorker and the thing that he used to do, the fishing lures thing and the art, and it transitioned into knives. So, have something to talk about. So that's cool.
Yeah. I love the lures. That's how I found him before he was even doing the knife making thing. He was doing the blacksmith thing and stuff, and had talked to him a little bit, and then he made one of his first knives, and he asked me to make a leather sheath for it, and he's like, "How much is it?" And I'm like, gave him the price, and he's like, "That was a little bit more than I was wanting to spend," and was like, "How much do you charge for one of your lure sculptures?" And he goes, "Would you want to trade for that?" It was like, absolutely. So
so you've got one. How cool is that?
Right up here.
Oh, cool. Hey, Mark, give us some play. He is reaching up. He has reached over. He has grabbed it.
Nice.
Now, what's the big wire hanging off the bottom of it? Oh, it's stand for it.
So
got you.
Underneath here, it
says
actually, G Fader 15.
That would actually make a really nice musky lure. Great saltwater lure, too. Would be a great musky lure. Yeah, really cool. Really cool. Very talented group over there at Knife Talk. Very talented. Don't listen to them in the car with my wife, but they're very talented and they are always funny. So there you go. There you go. Well, guys, we are about let's see here, about 12 minutes out. So we'll start winding her down. As I think we're like an episode. Where are we at, Director of Programming? I'm not quite sure. I think this is episode 84. What are we going to call this episode? Josh can't turn his neck. Jason's waiting on Elon Musk. Elon Musk save Jason. I don't know. Maybe Josh can't
Internet,
turn his neck.
Are you out there?
Yeah. We will see. How do you name your episodes? Just whatever hits you?
We usually just use a number and then the person's name or whatever we're talking about.
The person that's on there with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta finish editing a Blade Show wrap up episode. I need to get that posted.
Oh yeah. So how's your co-host doing these days? before we
He's
get
doing
going?
good. He's super busy. Blade Show really wound him up quite a bit with the Joy of Cooking knives and stuff like that he's
Yeah.
been working on with Ethan Becker. And yeah, just a lot of stuff going on. His 2 kids in college, trying to be the fatherly figure and give them advice. And
Oh yeah. So you need to invite him to come on here with us one Thursday night if he would like to. He doesn't,
Yeah, he was on before, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
But I would love to. No, was he on before?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
I
Did
remember.
we had you on and then we had him on?
Yeah.
Yes. And he told us about how you always have to really edit his episodes.
Sometimes he's done a lot better now. So he didn't believe how long it took me to edit the podcast, and I finally got through to him that if you keep it a little cleaner, it makes it a lot my life a lot easier. So the lightest one we recorded, I only have two times I wrote down that I need to go back and put in something.
My wife, we were listening to your podcast driving somewhere, and she goes, "Did he just cuss?" I said, "Yeah, that's what Kyle does when he cusses." And she didn't hear him cuss. She just figured, did they just bleep that out because he cussed? I'm like, yeah, Kyle has to work on him. So, but yeah, you ought to invite him on here with us sometime. I'd love to catch up with him again. He's a sweet man, very talented man too.
He's making some really cool stuff. The Kephart, he worked with Ethan Becker. Ethan Becker owns one of the earliest known Kephart knife, and Dan got to work with him and create a drawing from that K-Bar uses to make their, I think it's the BK72 for the Becker line of knives that they do their Kephart one. It's got a walnut handle. It's a really pretty knife. I got one of those too, and then I also have a custom one that Dan made me, which he said is probably going to be the only one he ever makes out of MagnaCut. I just asked him to make it out of a stainless, and then he decided to do a MagnaCut one, and he started making 5 of them out of MagnaCut, and mine was the only one that made it through getting all the bevels and everything the size that they need to be.
Now, wasn't he a Marine?
He was in the Army.
Always Army. Okay, I knew you had a military career. I couldn't remember which one it was. So you just mentioned the K-Bar, and I wondered if it's Marine.
Yeah, the Ethan Becker. That's who makes K-Bar, Cutco, who makes the Becker line of knives. And then Dan makes the Joy of Cooking ones that he's been having those production ground, and then is working with a couple other people to do the handles and attach them and everything.
Yeah. Oh, he all big time now. He's big time.
He's got a lot of irons in the hat, so in the fire.
Yeah. That's what it takes. I mean, when you guys are running these small businesses, I can't speak for you guys because I'm not into that, but you guys have to have your irons in a lot of different hats just to keep the whole system running, right? Tools, knives, relationships, merchandising,
a bunch
everything.
Of these golf divot tools for the Wheaton Golf guy, Wheaton Golf Co.
Still making those. Good for you.
I can't remember if I shared them with you guys. We made 20 of them for Wilson, the ball company.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're wanting to order a batch of 150 and a batch of 300. So,
well, good for you. The meaning you'll be making these.
The good thing is they're all going to be the same one. Where the big golf order that I had right before Blade Show, where I made 200 of them, there was 18 different combinations. These Wilson ones will all be red and white. So,
will they have a logo on them?
Get laser engraved. So,
gotcha. Well, cool.
Hopefully, every time I feel like I'm getting close to have enough money in the pot for buying a fiber laser, something else, some life thing happens, and end up needing to use the money for other stuff. So, hoping to get a fiber laser soon. Luckily.
Well, hopefully that'll that'll work
luckily
for
I have
you.
a friend pretty close, Justin Lundquist. He's a really good knife maker, makes a lot of folding knives. He's done a lot of production knife designs with companies too. He's like 25 minutes away, so he's graciously let me use his fiber
Yeah.
laser quite a bit.
Well, I'm kind of figuring out where I may have some room with a tire hammer, and I've got enough knives sold that I may go ahead and get a tire hammer, or get maybe a small air hammer. I have to wait and see. But I think the one that Broadback has is kind of small for what I would want to do. But so that's the reason you can get a tire hammer for about $3,000, $3,500.
Yep,
So
that's.
I think I've got room to stick it somewhere.
I know that Broadbeck one is really, really compact, and yeah,
It's cute. It's cute.
Ben, one of the guys that works there, the one that was on the floor, they gave him the tire hammer, so their air hammer, so he's got it back at his place. So he was pretty shocked that Ryan and the guys decided to let him have it. So.
Well, that's very nice. I will tell you this: I was kind of surprised I didn't see Vince this year, and Ryan told me that he had stepped away from Broadback.
Yeah, I think he still helps out and talks with Ryan a bunch, but yeah, I think Ryan bought his stake, and Vince has been doing a lot of stuff with his engineering job and stuff like that. I think he took a new role and wasn't going to have time to devote to it like he felt like he needed to.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's kind of what he implied. So I hate to see that, but still see Vince around or online or this, that, and the other.
Hopefully
so
he'll be
very
at
good.
Show next year. We'll see him.
Hopefully will. Well, guys, it is approaching the 2-hour mark. We have delivered and provided that dozen eggs as we always do each episode. I would like to thank the Senior Director of Programming and the Vice President of Technical Aspects of Knife Making, and the other guys have titles too, but I don't remember what they were. But all of our guys that are off for one reason or another. I thank you guys for being in here tonight. If you guys, I was let you know, if you haven't been to knife-maker.com, go out and take a look at my knives there. Always also go out to khdaily.com. Is it khdaily.com?
Daily Knives.
Knives.com. I was going to say I'll screw it up because a lot of times we've got so many different addresses. Or go to VMAX Custom Works on Facebook. Is that correct?
That's right. Facebook and Instagram.
And take a look at what our knives are doing out there. While you're at it, place an order. Guys, if you have any questions, comments, product reviews, show or guest ideas, subscribe or email us at theknivestemplars@yahoo.com. You can also DM us on Facebook in the Knives Templars podcast group. We're picking up a lot of listeners there, so come on in and join the fun. As I mentioned, visit us at theknivestemplars.com to always stay up to date and see our list of sponsors and make sure that you're going out and supporting them. You know, this episode has been sponsored by New Jersey Steel Baron, TR Maker, Clark Iron Forge, Casting Crafts, Ameribraid. Go out there and see the guys at Ameribraid. I don't think I got that one tonight. Ameribraid.com. Get one of their 3 packages. Best grinders I've ever used. Pop's Knife Supplies, Even Heat, Maritime Knife Supply, Phoenix Abrasives, and Templars 10 or KP10 at checkout for 10% off your order. You can hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Anchor, Amazon, YouTube Video, CastBox, and many more that grab our feed. See us at the Knives Templars podcast on Facebook again or at knivestemplars.com. And with all that being said, it's time to say goodnight, guys.
Hey, good night, everybody.
Good night, good night, good night.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Brought to you by PORKHouse Productions. Oinky, oinky, oinky.
So, you know, we've got oinky, oinky, oinky. We got that pig on our sticker. Somehow, I think next year is going to be a monkey riding the pig.
Ooh.
That'll be our sticker next year.
A monkey riding the pig in space?
Could be. Riding, standing
like
on
Dr. Strangelove, riding a nuke in.
I don't know if we want to do nukes.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe not timely right now, but
maybe we'll just have them. We'll have them romping around the lunar surface or something.
Yeah, there you go.
A monkey, and a pig in a spacesuit romping around the lunar surface.
What could be a joke? A monkey, a pig, and a Knives Templar walk into a bar.
So, Kyle, I was when I was cleaning out my shop, I saw some of your stickers from 3 years ago, and I stuck them on my gas tank this year. So I had my first Blade show was maybe 4 years ago. Anyway, I'd never seen these stickers before. I got them as just a visitor to Knife Show and got some stickers from you. I was like, "Ooh, I am somebody." Kyle he thought enough of me to give me stickers. I'm just going to assume they were the special stickers, not the ones that everybody grabs. So I stuck them on my thing. So I'm full of KH Daily memorabilia on my gas tank now. I'll have to take a picture of it and show it to you. You can tell me what show they're from.
Yeah, we've done special KP stickers for the last 4 years. So
okay, so it must have been four years ago that I got the sticker
one that
from.
just has the KP logo with Blade Show was the first one, and then we got our act together and had started the beer label ones.
Okay, so it must be the one with just the Blade Show. I think that's what I'm recalling there. It's been a couple weeks since I put it on there, but I was like, "Oh, look at this!" And I found some other stickers and stuff that I had picked up from people.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the Star Wars stickers that I've been having Tim do.
Yeah,
I really like the R2D2 one that just recently did. It's got the SL stone holder coming out of his head, and then the sanding buddy and a knife and some oil and stuff for using on the SL stone holder.
It's very cool. It's very cool. I was noticing that TR Maker is really starting to push a grinder. I don't know if those necessarily will kick off over here in the United States. I think there's people who will buy them, but I think it's going to be kind of hard to break through the Broadbeck / Ameribraid / TW / a couple other grinders are pretty much mainstays over here that we don't necessarily see overseas so much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, house-made, by all means, house-made. That we may not. I don't know if they'll necessarily break into this market, but I've seen a lot of people are picking up those grinders over in Europe. So
Brian and
Evolution still continues to.
Brian just released the Evolution grinder, and I told him you
did
everything right except putting a pneumatic shock on it.
Oh, really?
Him and I'll never see eye to eye on that. So,
do you like the pneumatic shock?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I know.
What does he have? A spring or something?
Spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ameribraid uses a spring also, and I like the spring versus the pneumatic shock. But is it you like the shock because of it takes the vibration or something away?
It does that, but it's also constant force throughout the entire length. So springs are variable rate. So as you pull out your arm and stuff, you'll get varying amounts of force on your tracking wheel. Where the gas strut, if you have it all the way down, it's 20 pounds of force. If you have it almost at the very end of its travel, it's still 20 pounds of force.
Huh. That's a good point. Yeah.
Somebody told me a while back that those things wear out, and I guess all things wear out. But when I thought about that, I always thought about the ones that open the back hatch on your car that eventually quit working, that you had to get a broomstick to hold your back door open. And then that's why I really didn't want to go. One of the reasons I didn't want to go down that route, but sounds like I needed to talk to Mr. Science here.
I like it. Richard Beck, one of the other guys, he makes a fabulous grinder.
Beck's Armory.
It's now Beck's,
or not Beck's Armory.
Beck's Tools now. Yep, or Beck Tools. His grinder uses one, and it's really well designed with the pneumatic shock. I think where a lot of them get used, they don't have them set up ideally. Lots of people run them with the rod sticking up. So the grinding grit and stuff goes on collects on the seal, and that eventually scores the rod and stuff. So you want to flip it around. They also could be buying the wrong gas strut. There's ones that are made to have the rod vertical, and some that are made to have the rod or above, or some to have the rod down below. So it's kind of making sure you have the right thing also. But yeah, I've got a backup, but I've been using one for 13 years, and mine's still going strong. That grinder doesn't get quite as much use now as my Broadbeck one, but I've been using the Broadbeck one for like 5 years now. So
Yeah, and you said something very cool, because I keep change parts. I can just about, I don't have a chassis, but or an extra motor or a variable frequency drive, but I have every other part for my Ameribraid. I could almost build another one. Now, a motor, a variable frequency drive, and all that's that's the big money parts of it there. But I do keep a lot of change parts. So if you keep them, hey, I noticed one thing. What's the gentleman's name with Old Hickory Forge that lost his fiance up in North Carolina during the floods? He's got the YouTube channel, Old Hickory Forge. John. Anyway, I've been following him on Facebook. He's been walking the Appalachian Trail this year, and along the way, he has been spreading her ashes. They were both really outdoors in the mountains kind of stuff. So it was real. Yeah, John Norwood. Yep. So he's nearing the end. I don't think he's anywhere near Katahdin. He's walking up. He might be in Vermont based on the topography and the rocks and the trails I was seeing. So, but he's getting up there. So it's certainly a journey of faith and determination and healing for him for this particular walk. So he lost an awful lot, house, family, and everything. So it's kind of neat. As I hope that he bounces back as a maker again. Love to see him do that.
I got an order from him a little bit before Blade Show. Got in touch with him and sent him some extra stuff, and when he gets back from doing his thing, he just had it all shipped to one of his friends' houses. But we're gonna get some more stuff going to him. I know Brian's gonna send him some grinders and stuff like that. So
you know what we ought to do is find out what his needs are, because we'll be able to see when he comes off the trail and just kind of getting a wish list from him, and maybe he can put something out there in the community, can help him build his shop as he's able to put things into a shop, because he'll have to have a place, unless he's already got to have a place to get going again.
He's talking about building a new place, not in the same location that he was at before.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of memories there, and also even though it might have been 100-year flood, sometimes they come quicker than that. So, all right, guys. Well, I tell you what, tomorrow is Friday. Means the weekend's upon us. I got some grinding to do. I hope, Kyle, you get the weekend off or work very little.
Don't have anything planned this weekend, so going to try to probably do some stuff with the family. I've been catching up on home projects. There was something that I wanted to let the people know about. We stumbled across a new TV show on Apple TV. It's called Stick. It's a fairly lighthearted show. It's I think there's 5 episodes out or so right now, but it's Owen Wilson, the guy that voiced the Lightning McQueen. So I'm always like, wow. Like so he's always got a very unique vocal style, but he plays washed up golf pro, and he finds this young kid who's super great at golf, and they start to try to hit the tourney, and he's trying to be his coach and everything. So it's pretty funny if you have Apple TV. Pretty well written so far.
It's called Stick, you said?
Stick. That was his name, because he hit the ball so hard and far. He had the big stick.
Very good. Check it out now. Well, guys, this is the part where we say the final oinky, oinky, oinky. Y'all be good.
Oinky, oinky, oinky. Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Oinky, oinky.
old church bell rings through the morning air, calling out to the folks with their hearts laid bare. Dusty boots on the steps of that hallowed ground. In the name of Jesus, peace is found. Mama's hands clasped tight, her head bowed low, praying for the seed she's sown to grow. Daddy hums a hymn as he works the land. In the name of Jesus, we understand. In the name of Jesus, the lost are found. Mercy pours like rain on this sacred ground. With every tear and every prayer we raise, in the name of Jesus, we find our grace. Stands with a heavy heart, searching for a way to make a new start. The preacher says, son, you're not alone. In the name of Jesus, you found your home. The sun sets low, painting skies of gold. Stories of his love are forever told. Through trials and triumphs, through joy and pain, in the name of Jesus, hope remains. In the name of Jesus, the lost are found. Mercy pours like rain on this sacred ground. With every tear and every prayer we raise,